It gives me great pleasure to stand in solidarity with workers who are simply trying to be recognized, not merely as workers, but as human beings and as citizens. It gives us great pleasure to stand with the UAW and Dennis Williams, and if you can put your hands together loud, strong, and resoundingly, you're my brother in this justice movement. I need to hear a little louder. Then there's some folk who've gone to Hollywood and gone Hollywood. Danny Glover ain't one. Put your hands together. Then you got folk in the United States, and I'm not talking about you, Senator Bernie Sanders. We got another senator here on stage who knows how to bring it. Can you put your hands together for Senator Turner? Can you do that?
Nina 2020!
We're going to hear from Senator Bernie Sanders in a little bit, but y'all can't show him enough love. Show some love for somebody who ran the president of the Mississippi State Conference of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, who is in the fight day in and day out. And the new vice chair of the board of directors of the NAACP, Derek Johnson. And of course, you've heard that basso profundo voice from Mary Murrah. And these leaders here on the stage and behind us and before us. We stand here today beneath this blue canopy of sky outside the gates of the Nissan plant in Canton, Mississippi. And we're here with many people across the length and breadth of our republic asking the question, why is the NAACP in a fight for workers' rights? That is the question that is resounding and reverberating in the air. Why are we deigning to look beyond civil rights to workers' rights? We're here in Canton, Mississippi, standing outside the gates of the Nissan plant with this question of the relationship between workers' rights and civil rights, standing outside the gates. Those of you who are Episcopalians and Baptists and Pentecostals and Catholics and Jews and Muslims, reminded of a little story found in the book of Kings about 4 lepers who found themselves standing outside the gates, outside of respectability, outside of credibility, outside of prestige, outside of power, standing outside the gates. These 4 lepers faced an existential question. Why sit here until we die? We are in the midst of famine. We are in the midst of thirst. We are like workers without sufficient pay. We don't have enough to take care of our families. We don't have enough to live on. We are here standing outside the gates. And they ask themselves the question, why sit here until we die? Standing outside the gates. The 4 lepers said to themselves, if we stay here, we die. If we go into the city, we die. But if we go into the heart of the camp of the enemy, we may live. Standing outside the gates, 4 lepers without power, without prestige, without authority, workers standing outside the gates. If those lepers were transported into millennial times, they would find themselves in Canton, Mississippi, seemingly without power, seemingly without prestige, seemingly without authority, standing outside the gates. But we are taught in this story, this parable of power, that the lepers standing outside the gates decided to go into the heart of the enemy's camp. And when they did so, just 4 lepers, 4 workers, without a lot of power, a lot of prestige, a lot of authority. But the Bible tells us that when those lepers walked into the enemy's camp, the enemy heard them walking and heard their steps as a loud army, a powerful army. So standing outside the gate with the power of the vote, the power of collective bargaining, the power of negotiation, you too are about to get up and move and march and go into the heart of the